end of the spectrum, we have Singapore, the highly sophisticated financial sector, which has become a regional hub, financial hub actually. So because of that, certainly the Myanmar and Laos still have to open up the capital account. But before they do that, they still have to liberalize the financial sector first before they open up the capital account. The second point that I want to make is that ASEAN is actually bank-based. That is actually the mobilization and allocation of resources mainly done by banks. And capital markets actually have a secondary role in this respect. So, and indeed, it's actually ASEAN have actually on ASEAN banking integration framework. In 2020, they will have the ASEAN banking integration, starting with ASEAN 5. The RBF is actually just the framework of the agreement, but the actual agreement should be done bilateral basis because this is a reciprocity, based on the reciprocity principle. So the bilateral agreement is actually have to set the criteria for what is called qualified ASEAN bank. A qualified ASEAN bank are allowed to operate in other countries and get the treatment, national treatment, which is actually have equal treatment as the domestic bank. And that will start in the 2020. I think I stop with that and I'm now open up for intervention control. Anybody? Public, please.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to ask to Lukman related to improving competitiveness. We have been mentioning about several issues related to the hurdle that we face in improving our competitiveness, but a lot of the items that you put related to the government. So I would like to know what is it related to the private sector itself in terms of being able to improve the competitiveness. So, for example, why private equity private sector at the moment relatively small in terms of engagement in research and innovation? Why is current private sector in Indonesia, or not why, but what is the strategy of private sector in Indonesia when this EAC is happening in terms of collaboration between other private sector within the region? So that's probably.
I will collect your question. Please. I think that is the defect.
Thank you very much, Mas Raymond. I think Ira should come to public more often. You are a very good speaker. I'd like to ask about the financial integration. The Indonesian banks often complain that if they want to invest in the ASEAN market, although they are more open than Indonesia, but actually in terms of regulatory, domestic regulation is more stringent than Indonesia. How is your observation on this? Thank you very much.
Another one, please, Pak. Your name and affiliation, please.
Yeah, I'm Makanan, and I would like to address my question to Ms. Setiati about finance. If we really want to capital market, but one of the problems that I think we are facing now, there is connect between the financial market and the real sector. Do you think it will be having impact in ASEAN integration? Or how do you think? just to have your opinion. Thank you.
Any other? No, Lukman first.
Okay, thank you, Pak Budi. Yes, I agree that this two question about the research and development and innovations, and also what our effort from the private sector to penetrate the ASEAN market. As I mentioned, we need to speed up the innovation, to strengthen our innovations, not only the product, but also the trade system, the distribution, the marketing, what we are doing to penetrate the ASEAN market through these innovations in all aspects of our business. Otherwise, we will Indonesia will become only the market for our neighboring countries. So that's why, as I mentioned, now in the private sector already done many in like CLMV, like Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam. It's more easy for Indonesian company to penetrate that market. Except in Singapore, frankly speaking, it's very difficult because not only the small population but also it's very difficult to penetrate the food and beverage sector in Singapore. Malaysia also is quite tough, but the CLMV countries is now we are doing in this country for the distribution. And in Indonesia now we try to innovate our product to utilize Indonesian resources to make editorial products. Such now the many innovation from the coffee, for example. We developed a new product, editorial product from coffee, and also from other resources because we have that. So that's why the innovation is very important. And we agree with Budi that this is we have to develop together. So that's why with Australia, we propose Australia. Now we import a lot raw material and semi-processed product from Australia. So that's why we propose for the Indonesian-Australian CEPA. Australia should support Indonesia in innovation sector to establish the innovation center here, sharing knowledge, sharing experience of the Australians, and then we can use the raw material from Indonesia and also from Australia as well to deliver, to sell to other countries for the global value chain. This is our dream. And of course, some of the Indonesian business company already start to acquire small company in ASEAN countries, like in Singapore, Malaysia. Some of the companies already done, and then they merge with the small companies in the ASEAN neighboring countries. This is for our basis to penetrate the market. This is what we do together now. Thank you.
Ira, please.
Thank you for the questions. For key questions, like Mas Raymond already mentioned that the ASEAN actually allows the ASEAN member states to impose financial restrictions on their own domestic financial market. In other countries in ASEAN, I think what happened is that they put stricter regulations in accordance to the prudential measures. So I think this is what happened when Indonesian banks with very limited capital want to enter, for instance, the Singapore market, and they have to compete with OCBC or DBS. It's very hard, and there's no way that the monetary authority in Singapore lower the capital restriction for that. So I think that's what happened. They imposed more stricter prudential measures, and until now, I think Indonesian central bank has still considered in applying even the Basel III regulations, whereas I think in Singapore and in Malaysia, they already imposed that according to the Basel III. I think Indonesia is still Basel II, for banks. That's probably what happened in ASEAN right now. For Pak Jamester, I think in ASEAN they require the ASEAN member state to strengthen competitiveness in their domestic market first before opening up, and that's actually set in the roadmap that they must increase the domestic market first. They must increase the competitiveness of the domestic market, financial market, in order to open up. So I think this is the financial intermediaries function came into the whole financial integration in ASEAN because the ASEAN member state needs to do that one first to strengthen the intermediary functions of the banks, of the financial institution in domestics, and then they later, in the later stage, that's the financial integration. So that's why, like I said before, I mentioned before that there is a good reason why this financial integration does not speed up like the trade integration, for instance. So I think that's, I hope it clarifies Pak Jamester's questions on that. Thank you.
We still have some time. If there are questions for Pak Disman, please.
Two questions, one to Ira and Raymond, on financialization. Financial assets in Indonesia are very small compared to total assets, but I don't have the number. And if we talk about financial integration within ASEAN, I think we need a good idea on level of financialization in each of the member economies. To Pak Lukman, if we cannot impress Singaporeans with whatever means, maybe we can conquer them through the stomach, meaning food, restaurants and the like. Why is there not a good Indonesian restaurant in Singapore? I think if you move to Thailand, a few Thai restaurants are present everywhere, even in the most remote places of the earth. And I think through these restaurants, they promote the sales of agricultural products. So it's not the restaurant per se, but the indirect impacts on expanding trade. And number two, to Pak Lukman, there is a big disconnect in Indonesia between the government, the business, and the academia. Our government tends always to overestimate our ability to supply agricultural products. We think we have enough, we thought we have enough beef, but all of a sudden prices skyrocketed, and then we decided to import, maybe too late. How do we create this connection between your business people, my academic people, and the policy makers? I think we need this. If we are to come up with more tradables, we have too little tradables right now when it comes to food and agricultural products.
Okay, thank you. My name is Adhi. And I would like to ask to three speakers. I would like to ask about the MIS data. I think it's important for Indonesia to have one single MIS data for the AAC, to access the AAC market. First thing is about application of the MS, relate about the number of trade, number of import, export, product, service, investment, and capital inflow, outflow, and about the number of the employment, the human resource, migrants, and also about the financial. What do you think about the suggestion to create the application of the MIS data for the AAC? Thank you.
Can you define what MIS is?
MIS meaning the system. It's about the system which provide information about the number, trade, in percentage or amount that could be accessed by the PIC, the person in charge in our government, to access directly from his mobile phone or his PC, like that, to give a quick solution whenever there is an obstacle or bottleneck in the implementation of the AAC. Thank you.
Ibu, please.
I only have one question. My name is Peggy Tom. I'm a sociologist. It's directed to Chris Manning. Every time we talk with Indonesia, always the observation comes up that we have low quality human resources. Everybody knows that, and then the answer we also know. Give more education. And then, of course, especially on sekolah kejuruan. So we get faster, skilled labor. But we don't hear very much about how to go about it. And now we are faced with this, the worry about the impact of so many labor from outside. So, and it takes a big time to create our own people. So, why don't we do more about this sekolah kejuruan? Now the problem is sekolah kejuruan has a low evaluation in the eyes of the masyarakat. So you have this problem. So, what would be, what can we do, of course people know what to do, but it's not done. That's the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I think now I'll turn to Lukman first.
Okay, thank you. I think Pak Usman more know well about the Indonesian situation, but yes, about the restaurant promotions for the to promote the Indonesian food, I think we agree, but we have to collaboration all the stakeholders, including the government. As you know, the Thailand, Malaysia governments very supportive for the development of the restaurant in other countries, including the airline. They support very well the business for the restaurant, and also in some countries, Malaysia government give support in money in cash to establish restaurant in other countries. This is the very we need collaborations all the stakeholders, including the government support. It's difficult for the business alone to promoting the Indonesians as well. But we have a good experience when we promoting our food products through the pekerja rumah tangga, the housemaid in Arab Saudi and other country. So that's why some of the export of the product get success. For example, mie instant. The housemaid promoting they eat mie instant, and then they give the children of and then the children like the instant mie instant, and then now the mie instant become a very big sales in Arab Saudi and already has a factory there. I think I agree with how to promote it. Now we try to promote through the student, promoting through the student, through the Indonesian embassy, to promoting the product as well. And agree with the data, the big disconnect between ADG, academic business and governments. Now happen again about the sugar. Now we shortage of sugar. It's very late decision of the government. We already many times say to the government, we have to prepare. We know the actual stock in the market, including sugar, salt, everything. Unfortunately, we know well that many data is number of in Indonesia. So that's why our president now instruct to have one data, and hopefully 1st July the president will launch the new one single data in Indonesia. Including, I can imagine in Indonesia itself, we have many data for the same things. Why? How we can harmonize all data in ASEAN countries? So it's not a big, it's not easy to harmonize it. But we are from the private sector. Ajisman already give us suggestion to government through the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Industry, and as well as BPS. Unfortunately, it's not our job actually. It's a government job how to manage the data, how to manage the policy based on data and based on the true data. Unfortunately, many policy governments decide based on the wrong data. For example, the cocoa bean. Now we import a lot of cocoa bean because of the wrong data. Government said we have 900,000 cocoa bean ton, 900,000 ton cocoa bean, and then government promoting to establish the new industry of the cocoa bean based product. And now our capacity during the 5 years increased from 100,000 ton to become now 600,000 ton. If we use data 900,000 is enough. Unfortunately, the actual production only 400 something. This is the wrong data. And then now we have to import. We have to import raw material from Africa, from America. So this is a very important data, including the beef. Beef also 14 million cow in Indonesia based on the survey. Unfortunately, that is the saving of the community, not the commercial cow, not the commercial cattle. But as we know in the village, some one house they have saving 1 or 2 cattle, and then they sell if they need money for Hajj, for study, for other. And when the survey is counting that this is also including the national stock. So this is the big mistake, and of course we know already that this impact to our aspect in the decision maker. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Lukman. Now, listen to Pak Chris, please.
Thank you very much, Pak. Mengenai data dan mengenai migrasi dan employment, dari satu segi BPS sudah lebih banyak menerbitkan data belakangan ini ya, untuk work permit sudah sekarang diterbitkan secara bulan. Juga benchmark. They're also publishing data on internal migration on a more regular basis from Sakanas and from the national surveys. So there is more data certainly on migration, but it is a very difficult area. The body that controls almost all the information, of course, is the Department of Immigration, and of course filling out of the entry and exit forms, although some of those data are no longer collected, but there is a problem of access to those data. So those probably are my only comments on the data issue. Primarily on the Kejuruan issue, I'm not an expert at all on that. But my impression, I guess I have two impressions. One is that the links between the private sector and the vocational schools, particularly in manufacturing, are very weak in Indonesia. And so there are some very good schools, like in Solo, the renowned vocational school for automotives in Solo. There are some very good schools, but by and large, the private sector does not support. It's not based on research, but that's my impression. The other thing is that there has been a revolution in vocational education, vocational training, away from manufacturing and into services. I think I don't have the statistics, but I think about 60 to 70% of all vocational training is now in services. And that doesn't require a lot of costly equipment. A lot of it's in ITC, in tourism, and related areas. And my impression is that those schools are providing skills, particularly for poorer people, to move into the labour market. Children who've graduated from rural schools, moving into the labour market, they are much better attuned to the demands of the labour market. So I think there are some positive developments. They're much less costly, and the schools are easily imparted, or much more easily imparted than in manufacturing. Those are my two. Oh, just one I have to add, one of the restaurants, even though I'm not an expert, but the answer surely is there is no Indonesian food. There's Chinese food, there's Georgian food, there's Padang food, whereas the Thai commodity is a very homogeneous one. So that would be my answer. That's based on Australian experience.
On Jisman's questions on financial assets, yes, the financial assets in Indonesia are pretty small compared to the Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand. So I think the homework for Indonesia should be more on the financial inclusion and deepening, because they're still busy on that area to mobilize assets. Well, I want to say we have a best remedy for that, just to open up. That's what everyone said. On the need to make available the data, I think that we are quite fortunate for financial data. I think the sources are actually quite reliable, and it will already be made public. I think probably problems or difficulties are more toward collecting data from the real sector. That is more difficult. In the financial, I think financial data, they're pretty easy, and most likely it's available in public. I think, but yeah, of course, it's nice if you have like a database for all this data combined in one. Yeah, and we are here as a scholars, we are actually depend very much on data. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we come to the conclusion of this session. We already 10 minutes overshoot. Now I think we have a fruitful discussion already. So let us give the appreciation to our speakers.